All right, let's jump into it. Where are we at? It's 11:05 on the 8th, so on the Wednesday now. Look, I'll start off with Aussie because obviously Aussie, look, we were coming into this sort of big sort of resistance area. You can see three little attempts to sort of break through here. We had the nice little triangle sort of setting up as well. And look, I'll admit with this one, again, I sort of stuffed this up with too much faith in RBA, Bullock, whoever you want to sort of say with it all, to actually sort of come out with guns blazing to say, look, you know what, we're going to do what needs to be done. And I think that's the thing. The market was expecting them to at least, if not to sort of like, I think it was a pretty much next to no chance they were going to knee-jerk reaction and sort of raise rates. So that wasn't the big shock there. We did see an initial sort of sell-off as the rates was sort of, the decision was sort of handed down. And I guess that would have been part of the market that was sort of positioning just for, the chance that they were going to get a surprise to the upside. Because we know that sort of like, when you get those surprise moves, that's when you really see the action fly. So we got a small little drop off, about 20 points or so, and then of course an hour later we had Bullock talking, and just the general sort of just pandering weak outlook that it seems to be the sort of like the playbook for the RBA. It's sort of like, oh, we don't want to piss off people. We don't want to upset them by sort of saying that, hey, look, we will raise rates if that's what is required. It's like, not ruling anything in, not ruling anything out. It's sort of like, if you're going to do it, you're still going to do it. The impact is still going to be the same. You're not doing any sort of benefit to anybody by sort of just going like, oh, well, maybe yes, maybe no. We're not rule like it's just you look ridiculous, and particularly on a world stage you look like you don't really know what you're doing. And I guess maybe this is sort of coming from sort of like, low being sort of like so like sort of hard fast on, yep, look, we're not going to raise rates till 2024. And then they raised it sort of like, well, I don't know, was it 11 times, 12 times or something since. So, I understand that sort of like, given past experiences, they don't want to sort of take the hard line because they got it so utterly wrong. But at the same point, it doesn't make a difference if you have to raise down the track and that. It's just like, it's not about feelings. You've got a job that needs to be done. Do it. So I think a lot of the market was kind of surprised at how sort of blasé and sort of just sort of weak the effort was. Sort of like with the response. But it's funny, sort of watching the news this morning. It's very different. It's almost sort of like comical because like they're saying, oh, well, this isn't like what we want to see. Like they talk it up like she was really taking sticking it to them. So anyway, we'll sort of see how it goes. That coupled with DXY springing back somewhat to life and that coming back into the resistance zones. We'll get to that in a moment. Obviously, you can see here gave us our first sort of failed uh, break attempt, a fail of this triangle. We did get a rally up through sort of Asia session, and sorry, up through sort of Euro session, coming into sort of like US sessions. But you can see here pretty much it just sort of came up here, like almost perfectly. Well, tipped the underside here for the retest at this break level and underside of this sort of triangle support, and it's just melted down since. And now, as you can see, we're sort of coming back into this little area where we could see a little bit of support sort of coming in. We've got these previous highs here. It was the start of this bigger sort of candle on Friday's move. But at the moment, as you can see, even as we're talking, it's just still charging down a little bit. So I'll be looking probably maybe around 60 as the next level where we might sort of be finding a little bit of support, maybe through these areas over here. So I think sort of certainly come down here around this sort of 60s area, might sort of see a little bit of a rally attempt. We are pretty oversold. This is on the 4 hour. We are pretty oversold down here as well. So I think pretty much sort of as DXY is sort of coming into its resistance zone, we might see a little bit of a cooling off of this move, a rally attempt. But if we sort of drag this across now, we can see where the sellers are moving. And this is the line through here. It gives a bit of a better angle as to sort of where we might be sort of looking for. Not overly sold with this lower one, but somewhere along this line here, as I said, you probably get a little bit of an action. So yeah, around 64 in the 60s, I reckon we should be able to see a little bit of support. This is not sort of saying that it's definitely going to stop there. I just think that we may see a little bit of a rally effort through here. We need to really get through this sort of now, sort of falling resistance. So for me, I would expect some sort of touch up of here, then to sort of move back up to the top side over here. Get back up above 66. If we sort of drag this one up over here, I think that'd be an area to sort of say, okay, we got a little bit of recovery. We did have a little bit of an effort this morning on the open, as you can sort of see through. Probably see a bit better on the 15-minute here. So we did sort of come down here. We took out the lows and obviously found some buying sort of support here. Pushed up. It gave us about a 10-point push up to the top side here, and then obviously subsequently bang, push down for a lower low. So same sort of little style. We can drag out like some little areas here. I'm not happy with that one. Probably more something like this. You might be able to see some sort of little area firming up. So yes, we'll see across here if we do get a little bit of a bounce off this area here. A little short-term channel inside the larger channel potentially. And we'll sort of have to see how that goes. So certainly, I think it's a little bit of a pullback area for Aussie. If we do zoom out a little bit back onto the 4-hour, we can start to sort of look, okay, how far, where are we? Oops, sorry, chart's going absolutely all over the place. So if we drag this out and we sort of look for the fib over this whole recovery move, excuse me, through here, we can sort of start to say, look, we're only at the 23% of this entire sort of comeback move. So this at the moment as well, as you can see structurally through here, you've got wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, and this is actually just coming back and retesting these highs over here, and this is why we've got this area sort of marked out as a potential sort of bounce area. It's not to sort of say that it does it perfectly, but even from this one leg here, if we move this up, we're at the 38%, lines up pretty well with this area as well. But as I said, I think sort of probably around the 60s, I think we should get a little bit of a bounce area. If underneath that, sort of 40s, 50s kind of area, which, you know, is a bit of a sell-off when you think about it, because like they still had some slight hawkish tone to it. It's just their blasé approach of how they got to that point. So it's not like they're saying, hey, look, we're going to be cutting. I mean, the story is still there, as in Fed are talking cuts, RBA are talking very loosely, you can't see me doing the finger marks, very loosely talking, doing sort of hikes. So we'll just have to sort of wait and see. But for right now, oversold, selling down, you've got your low, it's taken our new low. We'll expect some support coming in, probably second part of Asia session here. Flip across to gold next, and we saw that nice pullback as following that pass nicely. I did actually catch some sort of longs down here around 10, 11, but sort of fired them back off. I can't remember. I didn't catch the full move here, but up around sort of high teens or so, I think it was. And as you can see, it actually turned out to be a good, the better play of it all, because obviously it's just come back and it's tried to, and it's just failed. So we seem to be just really sort of consolidating through here. I think if we get back down underneath 23, could be a little bit in trouble. But for now, you know, we've seen it churn previously in these levels, and we're seeing the same thing happening just over here again. The breakout still remains to get above 23.30. That would be a confirmation for me to be going up and looking at these 23.50s. If we get a breakdown below 23, like a close around 23 round number, I think that's a good chance that we might sort of be seeing a little bit of a failed rally breakout here, and we could be sort of coming back down to retest lows. And as I said, that's still that. I still think this move will happen at some stage. Like, you know, whether we sort of go up here and then sort of come back down with it all, I think ultimately we are going to be seeing, you know, a retest of the low 22s at some stage. But in saying that, this could just churn sideways through a larger sort of range, as you can see through here, which could be very much the play to 23.50, and then sort of back down to coming over here. Well, if it takes a little while to get up over to this 23.50 area, you've also got to be able to contend with this falling resistance. So you might get two sections of the market that might be capping it if this takes a little while to sort of get, like if it churns a little bit and then sort of takes till sort of like, next week or so to get there, I would say that's going to be a pretty heavy sort of sell area. So if I have any longs at the time, this is definitely where I'll be sort of getting out of them, and I'll be flipping to the short side, and I'll be looking for some sells to sort of come down from this area over here. So this is the short-term price target still remains 23.50, even though it's looking a little bit sort of slack at the moment. But I think if we do get an option to get up over here, I want to be on the short side for any sort of potential move down there. Because the thing is with these things, and this is a good sort of example of it, that 23, this is an area we've marked out. It's obviously a very important line. So once we go through it, okay, yeah, that can confirm us. But as you can see here, these things don't go through the first time. So realistically, what the game plan would be is to get short in these 23.50 area. Most likely you're going to catch a little bit. If it does go up, you're going to get a back test, and then you can exit out for an even if you have got it wrong and you see a breakout here. Unless we get some news-driven thing, I don't think we're going to see one of these kind of moves that just chops out and goes all the way up, back up to 2400. If we do get out of this, past this resistance, past the falling resistance, then yes, that is a logical target, a plausible target, I should say. But you know what I mean? It's not going to cut and go straight through there. So plan is to still look for longs up to 23.50, particularly once we get past 23.30, and then sort of flip and get onto the short side around these 23.50s area. Flip onto DXY, the pain of it all. So we are seeing, as I said here, look, you can see this was the big trend line that we sort of gave up through NFP. We're coming up into the underside of this at the moment. We're also coming up into the horizontal underside of that area that it was trying to hold for a while there. So I would say this is potentially, we are oversold through here as well. This sort of makes me think that, this may just be a little bit of a squeeze. It was looking pretty good for a moment there last night, and it was like, yep, here we go, playing out to plan, came back down, but obviously sort of through US session, they decided to absolutely sort of hammer it up to the top side. So, that's coming back up into this area. But I'd be surprised, again, like with these things, that this goes through the first time. There's no news, particularly in Asia session, to cause this move, other than sort of people sort of pulling off a little bit of profits from these moves. So we drag this out through here. So I'm seeing the 50% also lines up into this area here. Not to sort of say that it can't come back up. 61% is obviously a very strong sort of reversal kind of area, and that comes up in with these the high levels through here, which I can't remember what news that was actually. So it's Friday, so the Friday prior. Can't actually think what that was. It just eludes me for the moment, but I still think we have downside to come, but you just got to wait this out, this momentum out at the moment. This is a 4-hour. It is ticking up. We've got a little bit of a gap up this morning, and it has pushed up through here. So yeah, it'd be interesting to sort of see how this goes. So it's certainly at the moment making you think, oh, damn it. But as you can see, this is the daily support, daily support, daily support. This could just be a push up into here. There's a little directional, this, to have this kind of move through here. We are pretty oversold, and also it is tipping back up here. So yeah, it's not really one that you want to get sort of in between, but look, it's broken a few key levels. That flag broke the horizontals, the main trend. Unless this is a whole fake out move and they rip it right back up here, I'd expect a little bit of a push back down here. Price target still remains down at 104 area for the medium term, for me anyway. Flip across, we've got copper. Copper is starting to put in its a little sort of a weaker lower high. As you can see, every one of these, it can maintain these higher highs. Now we've had a little bit of a second surge off this support area. It has put in a little bit of a lower high. So this will be interesting to see if this comes back down. If we get down underneath this little area through here where it was just supported on this little drop down, If we get back down below this, then that sort of obviously locks this in. We'd start to look for some sort of little pullback channel, which would be something to this sort of effect. And we would see some further cooling back towards this main trend. It has just been on this full rip, and if you go back for, I can't remember, it was one stage last week, I was sort of drawing this out, and I was showing the similarities between the one from a while back, and you've got your main trend, and then the buyers just go crazy and whip off on a whole new trend off the main trend. These things never last. It's just too steep. Like if you look at, I mean, obviously everything looks steep when you squeeze it up, but it's just been an absolute rip up here. So, this can realistically, in my opinion, sort of kind of just really consolidate its way sideways for a little bit. So we could be looking till sort of like, mid-June and sort of see this come back to the main trend. Look, we could see if this takes out here, people are going to see that lower high, lower low, and you could see a faster move back down, and you could be coming down to these sort of like, 60, okay, I always do this, the 438, 440 kind of levels. But as it is for now, I think we've got maybe a little bit of a temporary high, and certainly going to need to sort of chill out and sort of consolidate this area here. We do have that sort of negative divergence that we saw a while ago, and that's obviously sort of playing out its part. We've gone to a new high, and the buying pressure wasn't there, and you've seen the result of that. And if you watch my stuff, you know that I love the negative divergences. So we will just finish off quickly with the one, and this is another one that sort of came down, tested this big area that we sort of marked out. I really thought this would have held to push back down here, but as you can see, it's deciding to keep on churning up to the top side. So for now, obviously it looks like USD fanboys are back in control, but that's all right. We'll see how high these bounces go, see if we have any sort of resistance coming in through this soon. But for the moment, we're seeing a little bit of a meltdown. Metals seem to be holding. Aussie under a little bit of pressure coming down to that 60 zone that we're looking for. And then sort of, it's DXY still sort of like churning up into that resistance. So for the one specifically though, if we jump onto the 4 hour, look, this could just keep going, but these kind of little grind things generally end up in a sort of a sharp move down. These are the big commitment moves coming through here. Yes, it's broken through this area. You can see it tried to hold it twice. They've allowed it through, but it hasn't rocketed. So there's no like stops that are like really getting hit moving up through here. I would say that this has probably got some little short-term support through here. Once this gives way, I imagine the fast move with this is going to come like this. I think we're going to grind up, and once this breaks, we're going to see a fast move down. So we'll check back in on that one tomorrow. All right, that's it from me.